You can walk through an entire morning and miss most of it, not because your eyes were closed, but because attention had already decided what counted as real. A message becomes urgent. A headline becomes the world. A desire becomes a destination. A name becomes the thing itself. You move through the street, but you do not quite meet the street. You meet the email waiting in your pocket. You meet the conversation you are rehearsing. You meet the worry that has already named the day before the day has had a chance to speak. And somewhere beneath all this, beneath the label, beneath the wanting, beneath the frame, life continues quietly. A small tree leans out of cracked pavement. A bird lands on a railing. A stranger bends down to help someone gather dropped papers. The morning has not disappeared. It has only fallen outside the gate of attention. The Daodejing says, "The valley spirit dies not, I the same. The female mystery thus do we name. Its gate, from which at first they issued forth, is called the root from which grew heaven and earth. Long and unbroken does its power remain, used gently and without the touch of pain." This is a strange and beautiful passage. It does not explain itself. It gives us a valley, a spirit, a gate, a root, a mystery. And then, almost as if smiling at its own impossibility, it says, "Thus do we name." Even a mystery must be named, but the name does not contain the mystery. This is where chapter 6 begins to speak to our modern minds. It is not asking us to reject ordinary life. It is not asking us to throw away words, desires, decisions, or stories. It is asking us to notice something more subtle. The world we experience is not simply the world as it is. It is the world as it enters through attention, language, memory, value, fear, desire, and meaning. Modern psychology cannot measure the Tao. It cannot weigh the valley spirit, or place the root of heaven and earth under a microscope, but it can show us something deeply relevant. Ordinary perception is not as ordinary as it seems. We do not simply receive reality like a mirror. We meet it through gates. Attention is one gate. It decides what becomes conscious and what remains background. Naming is another gate. It gives the mind a handle, but sometimes the handle is mistaken for the whole living thing. Desire is another gate. It pulls the eyes toward what we want, what we fear, what we believe will complete us. Meaning is another gate. It turns events into stories, and stories into a self. And chapter 6 offers a final instruction that may be the key to all the others. Use this power gently. A valley does not force things to arrive. It receives. Rain enters it. Wind moves through it. Footsteps echo inside it. Rivers gather there. Seeds fall there. Life collects in the low places. The valley is powerful not because it grasps, but because it remains open. Most of us do not live like valleys. We live like searchlights. We narrow, scan, pursue, exclude. And this is not a flaw. It is part of being human. If we noticed everything at once, we could hardly cross a room, let alone live a life. Attention must select. It must simplify. It must say, for this moment, this matters. But what attention selects begins to feel like the whole world. In a famous psychology experiment, people were asked to watch a video of players passing basketballs and count the passes. While they were focused on the task, a person in a gorilla suit walked through the scene. Many viewers did not notice it. Their eyes were open. The image was there. But attention had another assignment. This is not a trick about gorillas. It is a lesson about human life. Much of what is present never enters awareness. The kindness in someone's tone, the tension in our own shoulders, the blue of the sky between buildings, the way anger is actually fear wearing armor, the way a child keeps looking back to see if we are watching, the way enough has already arrived, but wanting keeps moving the finish line. The mystery beneath ordinary perception may begin with this simple fact. Reality is larger than what attention admits. The Daodejing speaks of a gate from which at first they issued forth. A gate does not create the landscape, but decides what passes through. In the same way, attention does not create the whole world, but it shapes the world we actually meet. When attention is captured by threat, the world becomes dangerous. When attention is captured by comparison, the world becomes a ladder. When attention is captured by grievance, the world becomes evidence. When attention is captured by tenderness, the world becomes intimate. The lesson is not that perception is false. The lesson is that perception is selective. And once we see this, humility becomes possible. We can say, "This is what I notice," without immediately saying, "This is all there is." Then comes naming, the female mystery, thus do we name. This line contains a paradox. The text points to something beyond ordinary categories and then gives it a name. It knows the name is not the thing, but it also knows we cannot speak without naming. To name something is to give the mind a handle. A child learns tree, and suddenly 1,000 green shapes become part of a shared world. We can remember the tree. We can ask about it. We can protect it. We can write poems about it. Naming is not the enemy of wonder. Often, naming is how wonder first becomes visible. But a handle is not the whole vessel. Once we say tree, we may stop seeing bark, shadow, insect, root, weather, age, hunger, healing, the slow exchange of breath between leaf and atmosphere. The name helps us recognize. It can also make us finish too quickly. A name can help us see, and it can make us stop seeing. Research on language and perception suggests something like this. Carefully understood, the words and categories available to us can influence which differences become easier to notice, remember, or act upon. In studies of color language, for example, people whose language makes certain color distinctions more central can become quicker at noticing those differences under some conditions. Other research suggests that labels can guide attention toward features that matter for a category. This does not mean language traps us inside a private reality. It does not mean words magically create the world. The world pushes back. The senses matter. The body matters. Culture, memory, task, and context all matter. But names do guide attention. They draw lines. They highlight some features and soften others. They say, "Look here. Treat this as the important part." And this is why naming is powerful. To call a child difficult is different from calling them overwhelmed. To call a pause rejection is different from calling it uncertainty. To call your life behind is different from calling it unfolding. To call someone enemy is different from calling them a person caught in fear. The name is never innocent. It teaches the mind how to meet the thing. And then naming becomes framing. A name says, "This is what it is." A frame says, "This is what kind of moment this is." Is this criticism or guidance? Is this delay or rest? Is this ending or change? Is this emptiness or space? Is this person an obstacle or a human being afraid in their own way? Classic research on decision-making has shown that the same information can lead people toward different choices, depending on how it is framed. When outcomes are described in terms of gains, people often respond differently than when equivalent outcomes are described in terms of losses. The facts may be structurally similar, but the frame changes the emotional atmosphere around them. Again, the point is not that framing controls us absolutely. It does not. People differ. Context matters. Not all frames work in the same way, but frames matter because the mind does not encounter facts in a vacuum. It encounters situations, and the frame quietly teaches the mind what kind of situation it is in. This is why two people can live through the same event and carry away different worlds. One sees humiliation, another sees learning. One sees abandonment, another sees a painful incompatibility. One sees failure, another sees feedback. One sees an ordinary morning, another sees the last morning before everything changed. The gate is not only what enters awareness, it is also the meaning under which it enters. And desire stands at the gate too. Desire does not only reach toward objects, it trains the eyes where to look. The hungry person notices food. The lonely person notices distance. The ambitious person notices status. The anxious person notices danger. The grieving person notices absence everywhere. Desire edits the landscape. This is not a moral failure. It is biology, learning, memory, need. Things associated with reward can become more attention-grabbing. Cues linked to craving can pull the mind even when we wish they would not. What has mattered to us before becomes easier to notice again. The world becomes organized around value. And there's a deeper complication. Wanting is not the same as liking. A person can want something intensely and receive very little peace from getting it. We know this in ordinary life. The phone we keep checking does not necessarily make us happy. The approval we chase does not necessarily make us feel whole. The purchase, the achievement, the attention, the next episode, the next drink, the next message, all of it can shine brightly in the wanting mind and then grow strangely dim once possessed. Wanting says, go. Liking says, this is nourishing. They are not always the same voice. This is why desire can be so persuasive. It borrows the language of life. It says, this will complete you. Sometimes it is right. The desire to eat, to rest, to belong, to create, to repair, to love. These are not enemies. Without desire, we would not protect what is fragile. We would not reach for one another. We would not build homes, write songs, plant gardens, or ask forgiveness. Desire is not evil. The question is whether desire serves life or quietly becomes the gatekeeper of reality. When desire becomes too tight, it narrows the whole world to one object. If I get this, I am safe. If they approve, I exist. If I win, I matter. If I lose, I am nothing. Then the gate becomes a prison. Chapter 6 does not tell us to destroy desire. It gives a softer instruction. The power remains used gently and without the touch of pain. Use gently. That phrase matters. The mind is not content with events. It asks what they mean. Why did this happen? What does it say about me? Where is this leading? Was this punishment, chance, lesson, loss, invitation, injustice, grace? In this way, experience becomes a world. Not just sensations, but meanings. Not just moments, but a life story. Modern psychology recognizes meaning-making as central to human life. We do not merely endure events. We interpret them through beliefs, goals, memories, identities, and relationships. We try to place what happens inside a larger pattern. Sometimes this helps us survive. Sometimes it helps us heal. Sometimes it allows suffering to become connected to compassion, service, courage, or a deeper honesty. But meaning can also become harsh. Not every wound needs an immediate lesson. Not every loss should be turned too quickly into wisdom. Not every pain is improved by someone saying, everything happens for a reason. Sometimes the gentlest meaning is simply, this hurts, and I am here. Sometimes meaning must remain unfinished. Sometimes the story needs silence before it can become true. The Daodejing says the mystery is called the root from which grew heaven and earth. Notice the humility of that word called. It is called the root. The name points, but does not possess. Perhaps our stories are like this too. They point toward meaning, but they are not the whole root. They help us live, but they must remain revisable. A story that cannot breathe becomes a cage. I am the one who failed. I am the one who was abandoned. I am the one who must always be strong. I am the one who never gets enough. These stories may contain real pain. They may have grown from real events, but if they become total, they take the place of the living root. The person becomes smaller than the story. Here is where Chapter 6 turns quietly radical. It does not say, never name. It does not say, never desire. It does not say, abandon meaning. It says the mystery is named, but not contained. It says there's a gate, but also a root beneath the gate. It says there is power, but it is used gently. Much of our suffering begins when we mistake the gate for the root. The name becomes the person. The frame becomes the truth. The desire becomes the self. The story becomes the world. We say, this is what it is, when we might more wisely say, this is how my mind is holding it right now. That small shift is a doorway. There's a kind of freedom in being able to notice a thought as a thought, a feeling as a feeling, a frame as a frame, not to dismiss it, not to pretend it has no truth, but to stop kneeling before it as if it were the whole sky. This is part of what contemplative practices train, not escape from life, but a different relationship to the movements of the mind. Research on mindfulness and related practices suggests that, for some people and in some contexts, training attention in this way can help with stress, anxiety, mood, and reactivity. The effects are not magical. They're not the same for everyone. Meditation does not erase human difficulty, but there is wisdom in learning to see the gate as a gate. To notice, attention is narrowing. To notice, a name has hardened. To notice, desire is pulling my eyes. To notice, the story is becoming a prison. And then gently to loosen, not by force. A fist cannot force itself into openness. It opens by releasing. So how do we practice Chapter 6 in ordinary life? Begin with the name. When you label an experience, failure, insult, waste of time, enemy, disaster, pause before the name hardens. Ask, what else could this be called? What does this name make visible? What does it hide? If I call this moment failure, I may see shame. If I call it feedback, I may see adjustment. If I call it the end, I may collapse. If I call it an ending, I may still grieve, but leave room for what is not yet known. Then check the frame. When a situation feels obvious, ask, am I seeing this through gain or loss? Through threat or challenge? Through scarcity or enough? Through humiliation or learning? Sometimes the first frame is accurate. Sometimes danger is danger. Loss is loss. Harm is harm. Wisdom is not pretending otherwise. But sometimes the first frame is only the loudest frame. And the loudest frame is not always the deepest one. Then look at desire. When wanting becomes intense, ask, do I actually like this? Or do I mostly want it? What happens after I get it? Does this desire widen my life or narrow it? Does it make me more present, more honest, more capable of love? Or does it make the whole world disappear except for the one thing I think I need? This question is not meant to shame desire. It is meant to return desire to service. Desire is a good servant and a poor ruler. Then widen attention. For 30 seconds, stop searching for anything specific. Let the room arrive. Hear the sounds without naming them too quickly. Feel the temperature on your skin. Notice the breath moving by itself. Let peripheral vision soften. Feel the contact between body and chair, feet and floor. Notice the space between objects. Notice that the world did not begin with your thought about it. This is valley practice. Not empty as in dead, empty as in available. Finally, let meaning be gentle. If something painful has happened, do not force a lesson too quickly. Ask, what meaning is honest right now? What meaning helps me stay human? What meaning am I not ready to make yet? A gentle meaning does not rush grief. It does not decorate pain. It sits near the truth and waits. Used gently and without the touch of pain. The tools are not the enemy. Names, frames, desires, and stories are tools. They help us move through the world. They help us remember, choose, love, repair, and belong. The pain begins when the hand tightens too much, when we cannot put the tool down, when the name must be final, when the desire must be obeyed, when the story must never change, when the gate is mistaken for the root. The valley spirit does not die. It does not announce itself. It does not compete with the noise. It does not demand belief. It waits beneath the name, beneath the wanting, beneath the story we have mistaken for the world. To live wisely is not to become silent forever. We still speak. We still choose. We still love, seek, build, grieve, and name. But perhaps we learn to hold the name lightly, to feel desire without letting it own the eyes, to use meaning without forcing life into a cage, to let attention become wide enough that the morning can enter again, the tree in the pavement, the bird on the railing, the stranger helping another stranger, the breath moving in the body before we call the day anything at all. The gate is not the root. The word is not the mystery. The frame is not the whole sky. Used gently, the mind becomes less like a fist and more like a valley,